Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to TVS Nightline. I'm Muhammad Yusuf, and let us begin with our top story. Now, the Gabungan Parti Sarawak GPS Chairman Datuk Patinggi Tan Sri Abang Johari Tun Openg was sworn in as the 6th Sarawak Chief Minister on Saturday night after the four-party coalition won the 12th state election. Abang Johari took the oath of office before the Yang di-Pertua Negeri of Sarawak Tun Pehin Sri Abdul Taib Mahmud at Astana Negeri at around 10:40 PM. Now, this is the second time for Abang Johari to be appointed as Sarawak Chief Minister, who recently won the Gedong State seat on Saturday. The first time was on January 13th, 2017, when he replaced the late Tan Sri Adenan Satim. GPS's victory proves that the people want a stable government. This was proven by the coalition's success in winning 76 seats in the 12th state election after helming the previous government, which was an improvement compared to the previous performance in the 11th state election when contesting under the Barisan Nasional banner.
Rakyat telah memberi mandat kepada kita. Sarawak diutamakan, Sarawak first. Kedua, rakyat memberi isyarat bahawa kestabilan politik adalah penting bagi kita meneruskan usaha pembangunan di bumi kenyalang yang bertuah ini. Dan mandat ini juga adalah memberikan kuasa kepada kita GPS untuk meneruskan pembangunan ekonomi yang mampan dan juga sosial, dasar sosial yang mengutamakan rakyat. Ketiga, ia juga memberi isyarat betapa pentingnya kerangkuman semua kaum dalam pembangunan negeri kita ke arah 2030, tidak kira perbezaan etnik dan agama.
He said so in the GPS operation room at the Borneo Kuching Convention Centre BCCK on Saturday. Meanwhile, GPS's win was made even sweeter after the state-based coalition wrested 5 DAP seats, with GPS chairman and newly sworn-in Chief Minister Datuk Patinggi Tan Sri Abang Johari Tun Openg thanking the people for giving the huge mandate. Abang Johari, who is also the president of PBB, moved from his traditional seat in Satok to Gedong this time around and recorded a comfortable victory over 3 other candidates by garnering 3,607 votes. GPS Secretary-General Datuk Sri Alexander Nantalinggi described GPS's victory in the 12th Sarawak state election as proof that the people believed in the party's capabilities and manifestos. With a new mandate, he said GPS will work to bring continuous development to the people in line with the vision of making Sarawak a high-income state by the year 2030.
Dengan mandat yang sangat-sangat besar ini, kerajaan GPS nanti akan memenuhi manifesto janji-janji sebagai kerajaan yang bertanggungjawab dan berintegriti. Jadi akan meneruskan apa yang saya fikir mengapa sebab kemenangan besar ini adalah kerana kepercayaan daripada pengundi. Jadi lebih-lebih lagi mereka yang mengharapkan pembangunan yang akan diteruskan di luar bandar, juga di bandar-bandar dan malahnya seluruh negeri Sarawak, dan juga untuk mempertahankan kepentingan hak Sarawak lah. Jadi saya fikir inilah adalah sebab-sebab besar kemenangan besar GPS ini.
He said so when met by reporters at the Borneo Convention Centre Kuching BCCK on Saturday. Meanwhile, Datuk Sri Nancy Shukri, who is the Batang Sadong Member of Parliament and also Tourism, Arts and Culture Minister, said GPS will ensure that the promises made in the manifesto will be fulfilled.
Jadi ini adalah permulaan untuk kita meneruskan perkhidmatan kita untuk memberi perkhidmatan kepada rakyat melalui manifesto yang telah kita kita outlinekan ya. Jadi syukur biarlah kita teruskan perjuangan kita melalui manifesto kita.
Now, a number of political parties were surprised by the achievement of Datuk Patinggi Tan Sri Abang Johari Tun Openg as the chief of Gabungan Parti Sarawak GPS. So much so that it was described as a tsunami by socio-political analysts from University Malaya Centre for Democracy and Elections, UMCDEL, Professor Awang Azman Awang Pawi. Abang Johari has proven that a modest political approach is the key to winning the people's heart whilst opposing any extreme ideals that could affect the peace and harmony of the state. Awang added that initiatives such as the Bantuan Khas Sarawak Kusayang BKSS were implemented at a time when many were struggling financially due to the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic. Abang Johari's leadership has also proven that GPS is a powerful entity of its own, able to make decisions without any involvement by any political party from the Peninsula Malaysia, including Perikatan Nasional PN. Strategically, the independent success on the amendment of the federal constitution pursuant to the Malaysian Agreement 1963 has shown that only the GPS coalition is able to hold a diplomatic discussion with the federal government. The outcome of the 12th Sarawak state election has also indicated a hint of what might happen in the coming 15th Malaysian general elections. GPS candidate for Tebeduk, Dr. Simon Sinang Bada, described his winning last night as the result of a collective team effort. In his celebratory speech, he thanked his voters for the support and mandate to serve as an elected representative in the State Assembly.
Yang paling penting sekali adalah ucapan terima kasih dan setinggi penghargaan kepada seluruh pengundi-pengundi di kawasan DUN N21 Tebeduk ini kerana telah memberi peluang kepada saya dan memberi kepercayaan kepada saya untuk memberi khidmat selama 5 tahun yang akan datang.
The GPS newcomer beat 4 other candidates with a majority of 3,273 votes from 44 ballot boxes. Parti Sarawak Bersatu PSB candidate Raymond Archen received 1,809 votes, followed by Parti Bumi Kenyalang PBK candidate Jonathan Lantik Ok with 614 votes. 2 other candidates, senior William Rada of Parti Keadilan Rakyat PKR, received 610 votes, whereas independent candidate Roland Bangu got only 108 votes. Dr. Sinang replaces former incumbent Dato' Amar Michael Manyin, who was the elected representative for Tebeduk since 1996. For the record, Tebeduk has 12,040 registered voters and recorded a 69.46% turnout. A total of 759,627 voters, or 60.67%, cast their ballots in the 12th state election on Saturday. Election Commission EC Chairman Dato' Abdul Ghani Saleh said the number included ordinary, early and postal voters. For this election, the EC had initially set a 70% voter turnout target. However, Abdul Ghani, in a press conference yesterday, said bad weather was among the contributing factors for the low numbers. Yesterday, a total of 1,866 polling centers involving 3,555 channels were open for the voting process from 7:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. The poll saw 82 state seats contested. Gabungan Parti Sarawak GPS won 76 seats, while Parti Sarawak Bersatu PSB and DAP only managed 4 and 2 seats respectively.
Dalam episod akan datang, Empresses in the Palace.
7个人偏殿短阁与我这里相连，他那火势若大起来，我自然难逃性命。
都是因为甄嬛那个贱人，即使我死了，也一定不会放过她。
臣妾参见皇上。
你这身衣服是哪儿来的？
Welcome back. Now, the young Di-Pertuan Agong Al-Sultan Abdullah Riayatuddin Al-Mustafa Billah Shah has described the flood situation in the federal capital last night as similar to the major flood disasters that occurred in 1971. Al-Sultan Abdullah said after 50 years of the incident, Malaysians should take it as a lesson and be prepared to deal with the flood situation, especially in December and January. His Majesty said this after visiting flood victims at the Sultan Sulaiman Club Evacuation Center here at about 11:30 a.m. this morning. During his visit, His Majesty also expressed his sympathy for the victims and advised them to continue to be patient in facing this difficult time. Al-Sultan Abdullah also hoped that the government would provide the best possible assistance to all victims involved. On to a similar news, the government will provide 100 million ringgit in post-flood allocations for the repair of homes and infrastructures. Prime Minister Datuk Seri Ismail Sabri Yaakob said the government was aware of the extent of damages caused by the ongoing massive floods that hit several states. The Prime Minister was speaking to the media after chairing a special meeting on plans and actions to be taken to manage the floods. To date, 103 temporary evacuation centres PPS have been opened in 8 districts in Selangor, an increase from 48 yesterday. The Prime Minister said the Health Ministry, meanwhile, will provide doctors, nurses and necessities such as face masks, sanitizer and medication supply in all PPS. Now, the government has agreed to give emergency leave to civil servants who are affected by the floods, which has hit several states.
Besok hari Isnin bermula hari kerja. Jadi mereka perlu bekerja walaupun mereka berpindah. Jadi oleh kerana kita faham tentang kesusahan mereka, jadi kerajaan bersetuju untuk memberikan cuti kecemasan akibat bencana ini kepada kaki tangan awam yang terkesan akibat daripada banjir. Bila mereka masuk bekerja semula, boleh bincang dengan ketua jabatan masing-masing untuk menentukan. Saya harap selepas mereka dah balik ke rumah, menyelesaikan cuci rumah dan sebagainya, bolehlah bekerja semula. Tapi untuk setakat hari ini, kita bagi cuti.
As for the private sector employers, the Prime Minister said he also hoped they would take a similar initiative by providing emergency leave to employees affected by the floods.
Now, the Domestic Trade and Consumer Affairs Ministry, or KPDNHEP, will intensify its monitoring of the supply of goods in the country, especially during the monsoon season. Its Enforcement Director, Azman Adam, said the move was necessary to ensure that the supply of essential items is enough and easily obtained during the period.
The monitoring included checks on the Dedicated Distributor Manufacturer (DDM), Dedicated Distributor Wholesaler (DDW), and Dedicated Distributor Retailer (DDR) appointed throughout the country and other premises. In addition, the ministry's enforcement officers nationwide will work together with other government agencies to ensure that the supply of essential items is enough and within reach in the affected areas. Osman added that the ministry's Enforcement Command Centre ECC nationwide had been activated to make sure that reports regarding supply shortages of essential items in areas affected by the floods are swiftly overcome. Osman also reminded traders not to resort to hoarding to ensure consumer basic needs are adequate. He added that action will be taken against traders who are involved in hoarding activities under the Control of Supplies Act 1961.
Now, the Minister in the Prime Minister's Department for Parliament and Law, Datuk Seri Wan Junaidi Tuanku Jaafar, said Sarawak and Sabah should now demand to have their own judicial commission. In the context of Sarawak, he said that the judicial commission was important to give autonomic power to the state.
Elaborating, he said this is following the passing of the Federal Constitution related to the Malaysia Agreement 1963 or MA63 in the Parliament, and both Sabah and Sarawak should also have the rights to appoint judicial commissioners and other officials listed in the Intergovernmental Committee IGC report.
Kita sekarang sepatutnya ada judicial commission, Suruhanjaya kehakiman diletakkan di Sarawak dan Sabah. Sekarang kita tak ada. Semuanya dipusat di Kuala Lumpur. Itu yang pertama. Yang kedua, hak kita untuk melantik judicial Suruhanjaya Kehakiman. Dahulunya di bawah yang di-Pertuan Negeri Sarawak dan di bawah yang di-Pertuan Negeri Sabah untuk melantik Judicial Commissioner daripada negeri-negeri tersebut. Tetapi sekarang dia berpusat di Kuala Lumpur.
He said so during an exclusive interview with TVS on Sunday.
Bella, jangan.
Thank you for staying with us right here on TVS Nightline. Now onto some global update. A light plane crashed off Australia's east coast on the morning of December 19, killing all 4 people on board, including 2 children. It was believed that the 69-year-old pilot took the 3 passengers on a joyride. The plane went down shortly after taking off. Police are still working to identify the passengers, and the report into the likely cause of the crash would be completed in 6 to 8 weeks. At least 10 people were killed and 11 others injured in an explosion on December 18 at a Karachi bank branch constructed on a sewage drain in the city's industrial area. The cause of the blast at a branch of Pakistan's largest bank, Habib Bank Limited, could be a gas leak, a senior police officer said.
अब तक 10 बंदे जहाँ बहाक हो चुके हैं, 11 ज़ख्मी हैं जो सिविल हॉस्पिटल में पहुँचे हैं और यहाँ पे हम मौके पे हमारी बीडी की टीम भी पहुँच गई है, तमाम अफसरान पहुँच गए। धमाके की नौइयत को हम लोग चेक कर रहे हैं, तो चेक करने के बीडी की रिपोर्ट के बाद हम कोई अपना स्टेटमेंट दे सकते हैं। बज़ाहिर आपको लग रहा है कि नीचे नाला है, उसमें गैस भी हो सकती है।
A patrol station located next to the bank in the Sindh Industrial Trading Estate and cars parked nearby were badly damaged.
बाकी जो काफ़ी लोग यहाँ पे जख्मी थे, कुछ फंसे हुए थे, एक बच्चा फंसा हुआ था जिसको मैंने मिलकर पंप वालों ने और आसपास जो लोग मौजूद थे उन्होंने मिलकर इसको निकाला। 15 लोगों को तो हमने खुद मस्जिद निकाला।
Construction laws are often flouted in Pakistan. Several sewage drains have been concreted over in Karachi to make way for parking lots. Last month, the country's Supreme Court ordered the demolition of a multi-story apartment building found to have been constructed on an illegal plot at Karachi's main thoroughfare. Thailand sent back over 600 refugees to Myanmar amidst the war between the military and ethnic rebels across the borders of both countries. Some refugees volunteered to return on Sunday, December 12th, as more of them worried about their properties, while over 2,000 more chose to stay in Thailand until they deemed the timing is right.
Earlier this morning, dozens of refugees who took shelter at a local Thai school were put into 3 trucks to be sent back across the frontier. And one of them, who recently arrived in Thailand, is now on his way back to Myanmar. Meanwhile, the Deputy Asia Director of Human Rights Watch, Phil Robertson, urged Thailand not to rush refugees back to Myanmar. He explicitly claimed that Myanmar's army deliberately targets civilians with deadly force, which resulted in many fleeing for their lives. On the other hand, the Thai-based Myanmar migrants group known as the 8 Alliance Committee stated that about 1,000 displaced people have been camping along the Myanmar borders at various points, waiting to cross into their more peaceful neighbor. For records, the chaos in Myanmar was initiated when the military ousted a civilian government led by Nobel laureate Aung San Suu Kyi earlier this year, which triggered protests and sporadic clashes in the countryside between anti-junta militia and the army.
London has declared a state of emergency on Saturday after several British public agencies have reported the largest 24 increase in the new number of new COVID-19 cases since the pandemic began. Its mayor, Sadiq Khan, stated hospital admissions and health workers' absences are rising. Hence, such a declaration is crucial to help London's hospital cope with the surge caused by the fast-spreading Omicron variant of the coronavirus.
Over the last 24 hours, we've had the largest number of new cases since this pandemic began, more than 26,000. Hospital admissions are going up, but also staff absences are going up by a massive level. So I've taken the decision, in consultation with our partners, to declare a major incident today.
The Omicron variant is estimated to account for more than 80% of the new COVID-19 infections in London. A local newspaper also reported that officials are currently drafting new rules that, if introduced, would ban indoor mixing in England except for work, starting 2 weeks after Christmas, when restaurants and bars would be limited to table their service outdoors. This would also mean that only those who have received a COVID-19 vaccine are able to benefit from the privilege.
Well, Londoners will notice over the course of the next few days even more places across the city offering the vaccines and the booster. Behind the scenes, what they won't see is the coordination that's now going to have to take place a number of times during the course of a day between the NHS, the ambulance service, the fire service, the police service, City Hall, our councils. What we can't afford to see is even more of our crucial key workers going off sick because they have this virus. That's why it's so important to help us help you by getting the jabs that you need, the vaccines and the booster.
Now, those who were in China's Yunnan province were treated with a splendid view of sunrise amid a stunning sea of clouds flowing on Friday. Now, if you're planning to pay a visit, winter is the best season to enjoy the scenery in Ning Er Hani and Yi Autonomous County of Pu'er City. Of course, the experience is incomplete without a pot of pu'er tea to enjoy the cool air of the Yunnan mountains. Early in the morning, the small pavilion located halfway up the mountain were crowded with tourists who came to watch the sea of clouds and the sunrise. A cast sea of white clouds covered the sky and hung over the city like rolling giant waves. One tourist could not contain his excitement while he films the magnificent scenery.
真的把我震撼到了啊！以前从来没有发现大自然会有这么美丽。 今天在宁尔这个地方才知道日出可以有这么美。
At the same time, Ning Er resident Pu Jiangping describes the importance of the sunrise for locals in the area.
这个日出也代表了新的希望，也是整个世界万物复苏的一刻所以呢，我觉得上来身体好。
Ning Er County is located in the southern section of the Hengduan Mountains. The unique karst topography, special geographical and climatic advantages have worked together to create a fantastic and magnificent natural landscape. Each year, from November to January, the country attracts flocks of tourists from all over the country. And that's all the time we have for tonight's TVS Nightline. Don't forget to follow us on our social media at TVSTVMY. Once again, I'm Muhammad Yusuf. Good night and stay safe.